Hi, my name's Roger. I'm the pastor of Dorchester Community Church. Welcome to our countdown to a new day of hope. Thinking about some of the events that occurred in that very first Easter week before that incredible day that we call Easter Day, when you have all your chocolate Easter eggs and stuff like that. If you haven't before, then you're naughty. So what occurred on that Thursday before Easter? Well, Jesus told a whole host of extra parables. A parable is like a heavenly story, or an earthly story rather, with a heavenly meaning. A number of those he told to try and get God's wisdom across to us, some things that we needed to know. It was also a time where he then washed the disciples' feet. Washed the disciples' feet? What was all that about? Well, often that was just something left to the lowest of the low to do. The fact that Jesus was doing it, you read about that in John chapter 13. He was setting an example for us to follow, that nothing should indeed be beneath us. And that which I have done, he said, that's the sort of thing I want you guys to do as well. Well, that's a challenge. But what about that Last Supper? The Lord's Supper, you may well know it as. You may well have seen pictures, famous paintings depicting that, of the 12 that were around at the table as Jesus had that he knew was going to be his final meal with his friends before he travelled on to then die of crucifixion the following day. Well, as that meal that they had, he took bread, he broke it, saying, look, this is symbolic of my body that's going to be broken for you. He took a cup of red wine and said, this blood, this wine is symbolic of my blood that's going to be shed for you. Without it, there's no forgiveness of sins. But he then said this, do this in remembrance of me. You may be on your own, you may well be part of a couple or with a family. If you're a follower of Jesus, why don't you stop? Why don't you stop a little bit later on and celebrate that meal and what that means to you? Do this in remembrance of me, he said. Why don't you just do it as that? There was then Peter's denial. Remember that? Where this brash fisherman called Peter said, well, even if everybody else falls away, I'm not going to, because Jesus had said that somebody was going to turn their back on him. Well, Peter was wrong, of course, because Jesus said before the cock crows 3 times, Peter, I'm afraid even you are going to disown me. And that is exactly what occurred as the events unfolded. I have no idea what would have gone through Peter's mind when he actually saw that penetrating look from Jesus to himself. And that led on then to Jesus going into a place called Gethsemane. Strikes me as it being a very kind of dark place, really, because this was where he knew what was around the corner. He knew he was just about to be betrayed by one of his best friends. He knew then that that was going to be the real beginning of all that would lead up to his own crucifixion. So he's praying to his Father in heaven, saying, God, I don't really want to go down this particular path, but not what I will, but what you will. What a challenge that is, isn't it? Aware of what maybe his preference would be, but willing to submit that to his Father God. This is what I want, but I'm willing to submit myself to your greater plan. May well be that you're going through some stuff right now, and, well, to be honest, you're very well aware of what you would want, but actually it takes a great deal of vulnerability and trust and faith to say, despite what I want, God, I want to be willing to run with what you are wanting for my life. Yeah, it may well indeed be Thursday, but Sunday's coming. What of that Sunday that's coming? Well, more about that in due course if you keep clicking on and looking in. Tomorrow we're going to be thinking about Good Friday. Why on earth was it called good if this Jesus was to die a cruel death by crucifixion? But there's a whole host of other events and we haven't got time to unpack all of them. But what we are doing is for Friday and Saturday, putting online a whole host of audio teaching to do with Jesus being sentenced, Jesus before Pilate, Jesus being buried, his death, all the stuff relating to that. What went on and why? What's the meaning for the likes of you and me? If you've got some spare hours and you want to get to grips with that and understand that further, I'd encourage you to click on those audio teachings, which you can find on our homepage. Apart from that, just remember, it may well be Thursday, but whatever it is that you're going through your life right now, Sunday is coming.